Wait, before you fall asleep, I want to show you something. There is a place in northern Iran where time has simply stopped. A forest that has been breathing for millions of years. A castle that has been standing in the rain for 1,000 years. I know maybe your day was hard. Maybe your mind is still running and your thoughts won't quiet down. That's exactly why I brought you here tonight. Rudkhan Castle, Gilan, the heart of the Hyrcanian Forest. A place where rain falls on 1,000-year-old stones. A place where the mist is so thick, the world slowly disappears. A place where silence has a sound of its own. If you're looking for a deep and peaceful sleep tonight, this video was made for you. Stay here. Breathe. If this place brings you peace, subscribe and leave a like. It helps these stories reach more people who need them. Now, let me take you there. Close your eyes and come with me to Rudkhan Castle. This journey has only just begun. Whispers beneath the mist of Rudkhan Castle. Chapter 1: The Forest Path. Night settles softly over the forests of Gilan. It comes the way it always does here, slowly, gently, like a heavy cloth of deep blue silk being drawn across the sky. You feel it before you see it. The light changes first. The gold of late afternoon grows softer, warmer, and then, almost without you noticing, it becomes something dimmer, something quieter. The shadows beneath the trees deepen. They stretch outward, reaching across the forest floor, touching the roots of old oaks, covering the ferns, pooling between the moss-covered stones. And the air changes too. It cools, just slightly, just enough for you to feel it on your skin. That soft, familiar coolness that belongs only to the forests of northern Iran, only to Gilan, only to this ancient, breathing, rain-loved land. You breathe in, and the forest breathes with you. You are standing at the edge of a forest path. It stretches before you, disappearing into the trees. The path is narrow, and old, very old. Generations of feet have walked this way before you. The stones beneath your feet are smooth with age, worn down by centuries of rain and footsteps, and the slow, patient turning of seasons. Ferns line both sides of the path. They are tall and dark green, their fronds curving gently outward over the stone, as though offering shelter, as though welcoming you. You take your first step, and the forest receives you. The trees here are ancient things. They rise around you on all sides, their trunks thick and dark with moisture, their bark rough and layered and covered in a fine green moss that seems almost to glow in the fading light. These are Hyrcanian forests, one of the oldest and most enduring forests in all the world. Forests that have stood here for millions of years, long before there were names for places, long before there were people to walk beneath their canopy. You feel their age as you walk. It is not a heavy feeling. It is a gentle one. A far as though the trees themselves have learned, over their long and patient lives, that there is nothing to fear, that everything passes, that the rain will always come, and the mist will always rise, and the seasons will always turn. And you, walking beneath them, begin to feel that too. Feeling of deep, abiding peace. The first drops of rain arrive quietly. You hear them before you feel them. A soft, pattering sound, high above you in the canopy. Tap, tap, tap. Rain on leaves. Rain on the broad flat surfaces of chestnut leaves, rain on the delicate needles of old pines, rain on the waxy surface of rhododendron leaves that shine like dark mirrors. The sound builds slowly, becoming a soft and steady rush, a gentle hiss, a whisper that surrounds you on all sides. And then a drop falls through the canopy and touches your cheek. Cool. Soft. You close your eyes for just a moment and feel it. The rain of Gilan is different from other rains. It is heavier here, more present, more alive. This province along the Caspian coast, this green and misty land, receives more rainfall than almost anywhere else in Iran. The mountains here catch the clouds that come rolling in from the Caspian Sea. They hold them, gather them, and release their rain back down into the valleys and the forests. And so these forests are never dry. The earth beneath your feet is soft and damp. Not wet enough to make walking difficult, but soft, yielding, alive with the moisture that feeds every root and fern and mushroom and creeping vine. You feel the softness underfoot as you walk. And it is comforting. Like walking on something that gives gently, that cushions each step, that holds you carefully from below. Mist drifts between the trees. It moves slowly, in long low tendrils that curl around the base of trunks and drift across the path before you. Sometimes it is thin, and you can see the trees beyond it clearly, their dark shapes rising in the gray-blue evening light. Sometimes it thickens, and the trees become soft shapes, suggestions, outlines of trees rather than the trees themselves. And for a moment, walking in that thicker mist, you feel as though you have stepped outside of ordinary time. As though the world has grown gentle and soft and uncertain in the most beautiful way. As though anything might be waiting quietly beyond the next curve of the path. Not anything frightening. Nothing like that. Something wonderful, something old, something that has been patient and quiet and waiting for a very long time. You walk slowly. There is no hurry here. The path climbs gently, winding upward through the forest, following the natural rise of the land. Beneath your feet the stones are sometimes covered with a thin layer of moss, soft and slightly slippery, and you place each foot carefully, feeling the stone beneath, feeling its solidity. The sound of the rain surrounds you. It has settled into a steady rhythm now. A rhythm that matches your breathing, your heartbeat, the slow and easy swing of your arms. Rain and breath. Rain and step. Rain and the quiet creak of the forest settling around you. You notice the smell of the place. It is impossible not to. The rain has released it from the earth, from the bark, from the leaves and the moss and the rich dark soil. It is the smell of wet stone and cedar, and the dark green perfume of ferns after rain. There is something sweet beneath it too, something floral, the distant fragrance of wildflowers that grow on the higher slopes of these mountains, their petals still catching rain in the darkness above. And deeper still, beneath all of that, the smell of the earth itself. Old earth. Rich and dark and full of life. The smell of a forest that has never been silent, that has always been breathing, always been growing, always been quietly, magnificently alive. You breathe it in deeply. And something in you, something tight and carefully held, releases. A sound reaches you from somewhere below and to your left. Water. Moving water. A stream. You cannot see it, The trees and the mist conceal it, but you can hear it clearly. The soft musical rushing of water over stones. It is not loud. Not the sound of a great river or a waterfall. Just a small mountain stream, finding its way between the roots and rocks of the forest floor, moving steadily downhill toward the wider waters below. The sound accompanies your walking now. Always there, just at the edge of hearing, sometimes closer as the path bends toward the stream, sometimes a little farther as the path curves away. But always there. A companion. A voice of the mountain. The path curves. And as it curves, the trees part slightly, just for a moment, just enough. And you see the castle for the first time. Or rather, you see the suggestion of it. Because Rudkhan Castle does not reveal itself all at once. It is not that kind of place. What you see is this. Far above you, perhaps half a kilometer up the mountain, through the mist and the rain and the dark arms of the trees, there are lights. 2 or 3 of them. Warm and orange and soft. Lantern light. Glowing from somewhere within the mist, somewhere on the mountainside above. They are small, like embers, like the last coals of a fire seen from a great distance. But they are warm. And seeing them, you feel something shift inside you. Something relaxes. You stop for a moment. Just to look at those distant lights. Just to hold the feeling they give you. The feeling of a destination. Not a destination you are rushing toward. Not a place you are hurrying to reach. Just a destination that exists. That waits. That glows softly in the mist above you. Promising warmth and shelter and ancient stone walls and the deep, quiet peace of a place that has endured for 1,000 years. You breathe. And you begin to walk again. The path narrows here. The trees lean in a little closer on both sides. Their branches overhead are a dark canopy, and through the gaps between the branches you can see the sky above. It is the deep blue of late evening now. Not black yet, but deep, layered. In the east, above the mountains, the first stars are becoming visible, appearing slowly, one by one, as though the sky is lighting small candles in the dark. And below them, crossing the sky in soft, gray-white bands, the clouds. Great slow-moving mountains of cloud that carry the rain across Gilan. Moving in from the Caspian, rolling across the coastal plain, rising against the mountain slopes, and releasing their rain here, into these forests, into this valley, onto the stones of this path where you walk. You think about the people who walked this path before you. Centuries of them. Merchants, their goods wrapped carefully against the rain. Soldiers returning from distant places. Villagers carrying food and firewood and news from the lowlands below. Travelers who had come from far away just to see this place, just to stand where you are standing now, and look up at those same lights glowing through the same mist. They all walked this same narrow path. They all heard the same rain, the same stream, the same forest sounds, and they all felt, perhaps, something like what you are feeling now. That gentle, unhurried peace. That sense of being small and cared for and surrounded by something vast and ancient and safe. The rain intensifies for a moment. Just a little. The sound increases, the drops falling faster through the canopy above, a few more reaching you through the leaves. You feel them on your shoulders, on the top of your head, cool and soft. And then, as gently as it increased, the rain softens again, back to its steady, quiet rhythm. Tap, 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 on the leaves above. The dripping of water from branch to fern below. And beneath all of it, that constant, ever-present sound of the stream. Something moves in the forest to your right. You turn slowly, and you see a bird. A small brown bird, perched on a low branch just at the edge of the path. It is still, watching you with one small bright eye. Neither afraid nor curious, simply present. The way birds in forests sometimes are. At home in a way that you are not, that perhaps no human ever quite is, in the deep wild places. You watch each other for a long moment. And then the bird turns its head, shakes a drop of rain from its feathers, and lifts away into the dark green depths of the forest. Gone, leaving only the impression of its small, still presence. And the branch it sat on, still trembling very slightly. You continue walking. The path is climbing more steadily now. You can feel it in your legs, a gentle effort, a slow burn that is not unpleasant. The mountain is rising beneath your feet. And the forest changes as you climb. The trees are different here than they were at the base. Taller, in some places. The hornbeams rise especially high, their smooth gray trunks like columns of some immense natural temple. Their leaves are small and delicate, and they catch the rain in hundreds of tiny rivulets that run down the trunks and drip from the roots into the soft earth below. And beneath the hornbeams, beneath all the trees, the ferns. Everywhere the ferns. They cover the ground in great sweeping waves of green, rising from the earth in spirals and unfurling into broad, delicate fronds. Some of them are taller than your knee, some shorter, and the rain lies on their surfaces in perfect silver drops, beating on the waxy surface of each frond, rolling slowly to the tip and falling into the earth below. You pause to watch this. The slow rolling of a raindrop down the surface of a fern. It moves so slowly, gathering other drops as it goes, growing heavier, more certain of its path. And finally, reaching the tip of the frond, it hangs there for just a moment. A perfect sphere of water, holding the dim reflection of the forest inside it. And then it falls, silently, into the earth. Gone. And another drop begins to form behind it. The same journey, the same patience, the same quiet falling into the earth. You walk on. The mist is thicker now as you climb. It does not concern you. You have been in fog before. You know how to move through it, slowly, carefully, trusting your feet on the stones beneath you. And the lantern lights above are still visible, softened by the mist, diffused into wide blooms of warm orange light. But there, still there, waiting. The sound of the stream is louder here. You realize you have been walking alongside it this whole time, following its course up the mountain. And now the path brings you close to it. You step to the edge of the path and look down. Below you, perhaps 2 or 3 meters down a mossy bank, the stream runs over flat gray stones. Clear water, moving quickly but gently over the stones, braiding itself into small channels and then rejoining. The sound of it is beautiful. Not dramatic, not the roar of a great river. Just the soft, continuous singing of small water over old stone. A sound that has been here for longer than anyone can remember. A sound that will be here long after all of us are gone. You listen to it. And the listening is a kind of rest. The path moves away from the stream now, turning uphill more steeply. The stones here are larger, more uneven, some of them worn smooth by generations of feet and by the constant flow of rainwater. You place your feet carefully, feeling each stone before you shift your weight. There is something meditative in this, in the attention required, in the way it brings you entirely into this moment, this step, this stone beneath your foot. Nothing else exists when you are paying this kind of attention. Not the past, not the future, just the stone, the rain, the mist, the sound of the forest around you. Just this. Just now. A frog calls from somewhere in the darkness below the path. A single low note, repeated 3 times. And then silence. And then again. 3 times. Then silence. You smile at the sound of it. The frog, entirely unconcerned by rain or mist or night, going about the deep, ancient business of frogs in the forests of Gilan. The same calls that frogs have made in these forests for as long as there have been frogs and forests. The continuity of it is deeply comforting. You can smell the castle now. Or rather, you can smell something different. Old stone. Very old stone, different from the stones of the path, different from the river stones. Stone that has been shaped by human hands and fitted together with ancient skill and has since been claimed back, partially, by the moss and the rain and the turning of centuries. It has a particular smell. Mineral and deep and very slightly sweet with the moss that covers it. And it tells you, before you can see anything, that you are getting closer. That the castle is somewhere just ahead, just beyond the next rise of the path, just past the next curve through the mist. You walk on through the forest. The rain falling. The mist drifting. The stream singing somewhere below you in the dark. The fronds of ferns brushing softly against your legs as the path narrows. And those warm, soft, patient lights above. Still glowing. Still waiting. Still calling you gently upward through the night forest of Gilan. You are not tired. Not the way you would be after a difficult journey. Something about this walk has left you feeling not depleted but emptied in a good way. Emptied of the ordinary clutter of thought. Of the lists and the worries and the small persistent anxieties that usually occupy the space behind your eyes. All of that has been gently displaced. By rain. By the smell of the forest. By the sound of the stream. By the slow, patient climbing of this ancient path. And what remains, in that emptied space, is something very quiet and very clear. A stillness. A sense of being exactly where you are. Exactly where you are meant to be. The path levels briefly. And you find yourself on a small natural platform in the mountainside, a place where the slope flattens for a few meters before rising again. You stop here. And you look out. Below you, the forest stretches down into the valley. Or rather, what you can see of it does. Because most of it is covered now in mist. Great soft billowing banks of mist that have risen from the valley floor and filled the spaces between the trees. The forest below is a sea of mist, with the tops of the tallest trees rising from it like dark islands. like the masts of ships in a harbor of clouds. And above the mist, above the forest, the mountains of Gilan rise in great dark shapes against the night sky. Their peaks hidden in cloud. Their slopes dark with forest. Their rivers hidden somewhere in those misty depths, moving always downward, always toward the Caspian. You breathe in deeply. The view is not dramatic in the way that sunsets are dramatic or storms are dramatic. It is quiet. Profound. The kind of beauty that does not shout but simply is. And standing here, looking out over the mist-covered forests of one of the oldest landscapes on Earth, you feel something that is very close to gratitude. Not gratitude for anything specific. Just gratitude. For being here. For being alive. For having a body that can walk and breathe and feel the rain on its skin. For being a small, temporary part of this vast, enduring, rain-dark, mist-wrapped ancient place. You turn back to the path. And you continue climbing. The lantern lights above are closer now. Their warm orange glow is less diffuse, more defined. You can almost make out shapes within the mist above. Dark shapes. The shapes of walls. Stone walls. Rising from the mountainside. And you know that you are almost there. The last stretch of the forest path before the castle is the most beautiful. Here the trees grow close on both sides, their branches meeting overhead in a dark, rain-wet arch. The path beneath you is entirely covered in moss. Soft, thick, brilliant green moss that springs back gently beneath each step. It is like walking on living velvet. The sensation is extraordinary. And on either side of the mossy path, more ferns, taller than your waist now, their fronds arching overhead and creating a second, lower canopy beneath the trees. You walk through this green tunnel slowly. Your footsteps silent on the moss. The rain falling softly above. The mist curling around you. And those warm lights ahead, growing closer with every step. And then the trees thin. And the path widens. And you step out of the forest. And you are standing at the base of the castle stairs. The stone stairway of Rudkhan Castle rises before you, climbing the mountain above, disappearing into the mist. And at the top of those stairs, somewhere in the cloud and the lantern light and the ancient stone, the castle waits. Patient, warm, still, just as it has waited for 1,000 years. You stand for a moment. Just breathing. Just feeling the rain on your face. Just listening to the forest behind you, the stream below, the wind moving through the ferns. And then, slowly, you place your foot on the first stone step. And you begin to climb. Sleep gently now. The forest is behind you. The rain is falling. The mist is rising. And the castle is waiting above. Just ahead. Just above. In the soft, warm, ancient dark. Chapter 2. The Endless Stone Stairway. Your foot rests on the first stone step. You feel it through the sole of your foot, the solidity of it, the weight and permanence of ancient stone. This step is not smooth. It has been shaped, cut by hands long ago, fitted into the mountain with care and skill. But time has softened its edges. Rain and foot and season have worn it, rounded it, given it a gentle curve along the center where 10,000 footsteps have followed the same line. The center of this step, and every step above it, is slightly lower than the edges. Worn away. worn down by all the people who came before you, by all the lives that ascended this mountain. You feel that worn center now, and it is a comfort. You take the second step, and the third. The stairway is wide enough for two people to walk side by side. On either side of it, low stone walls, also ancient, also worn, also covered in a deep and permanent coat of moss. The moss on the walls is thick enough to press your fingers into. If you reached out and touched the wall beside you, you would feel it give slightly, like pressing into something soft and breathing. But you do not press. You simply climb. Slowly. One step. Then another. The rain continues. Here on the open stairway, without the canopy of the forest above, the drops reach you more freely. Not heavily. Not as a downpour. But a steady, gentle rain. Each drop small and cool and soft. And the sound of rain on stone is different from rain on leaves. Rain on leaves is soft and hushed and full of tiny variations. Rain on stone is cleaner, sharper, a crisp, light tapping that echoes slightly from the walls on either side. Tap, 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 each drop announcing itself clearly against the old gray stone. And then absorbed or running in thin lines between the stones, following the old mortar channels downward, back toward the earth. The mist is thicker here. Above the tree-line, the mist is not drifting between trunks and fronds. It is simply present, surrounding you, soft and gray and very close. You can see perhaps 10 or 15 steps above you, and then the stairway disappears into the white. And 10 or 15 steps below you, and then the stairway disappears into the white there too. You are suspended between an above and a below that are both invisible, walking upward through nothing but mist and rain and the sound of your own footsteps on ancient stone. It is a remarkable feeling, not disorienting, not frightening, simply unusual, as though ordinary reality has been gently removed and replaced with something simpler, something cleaner. Just these steps, just this climbing, just this rain and this mist and this stone. The steps are uneven in places. Some are higher than others. Some have cracked slightly over the centuries, and grass or small plants have pushed up through the cracks, insisting on their presence, insisting on life even here, even in the stone. You notice these small plants. A thin blade of grass. A tiny fern, barely the size of your thumbnail, growing from a crack with perfect confidence. A patch of something low and gray-green, a lichen perhaps, spreading across the step in a slow and ancient map. You step carefully around them. Lantern light appears above you in the mist. Warm. Orange. Closed now. Closer than it has been. You stop for a moment, just to look at it. The lantern is fixed to a stone pillar at the edge of the stairway. It is a simple thing. A metal frame, darkened with age, holding a glass pane inside which a flame burns. The flame moves, very slightly, even inside its glass shelter. It breathes with the wind, and its light moves with it, expanding and contracting, casting warm shadows that shift and sway in the stone around it. It has been lit by someone who knew that travelers would be climbing in the dark and rain, and who hung a light for them. You pass the lantern. Its warmth touches you briefly as you pass. Not the physical warmth of a great fire. Just the warmth of seeing it. The warmth of knowing that someone thought of you, even without knowing you. That someone understood that a small light in the darkness is worth the effort. And you carry that warmth with you as you climb. The stairway turns here. A long, sweeping curve to the left. You follow it. And as you turn, the rain shifts direction slightly, catching the side of your face for a moment, then settling again into its straight, gentle descent. The curve of the stairway reveals a different angle of view. Through the mist, to your left, you can see a section of the castle wall. Dark stone, rising vertically from the mountain. Massive. The individual stones are large, some as big as a man, fitted together without mortar in places, held by their own weight and by the skill of the people who built them. The wall is covered in patches of dark green moss. And from its top, where the flat stone surface meets the open air, small plants grow, waving gently in the wet wind. Rudkhan Castle was built during the Daylamite period, centuries before the Seljuks or the Safavids, in an era when the mountains of Gilan were a refuge and a stronghold for the people of this region. The exact date of its construction is uncertain. Some say it began in the Sassanid era. Others trace its current form to the 11th or 12th century. What is certain is that it is old. Deeply old. Old in the way that very few things are old. Old enough that it has absorbed something of the mountain itself, the permanence, the patience, the capacity to endure rain and wind and time without breaking. You do not think about this as you climb. Not in words. You simply feel it. In the stones beneath your feet. In the walls beside you. In the particular quality of the silence here. A silence that is not the absence of sound but the presence of something older and quieter than sound. Your breathing has found a rhythm. It matches the rain. It matches your steps. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slowly. Each breath drawing in the cool, damp, forest-scented air of the mountain. Each breath releasing, gently, whatever is not needed. Whatever you do not need to carry up these stairs. And there is so much you do not need. So much that you did not even realize you were carrying. It falls away from you with each breath. Dropping gently down the stairs behind you. Returning to the earth. Another lantern. Higher up. Still warm. Still steady. Glowing through the mist with patient orange light. You climb toward it. The sound of water is stronger here. Not the stream far below. Something closer. You look to your right. And you see, running down the face of the stone wall beside the stairway, a thin sheet of water. Rainwater collected above, finding its way down the face of the old stone. It is nearly invisible, just the darkening of the stone, just a soft gleam where the water moves. But you can hear it. A gentle, continuous whispering. Water over stone. Close and clear and soft. The stone wall beside you is weeping with rain, and the sound of it is beautiful. You touch the wall. Your fingertips find the surface. Cold, and wet, and rough with the texture of old stone and soft with the moss that covers it. The moss is wet, saturated with rain. It releases a small drop of water when your fingers press it. A cold drop that runs down your finger and falls from your fingertip to the step below. You hold your hand against the wall for a moment. feeling the cold of it, the solidity of it, the permanence of it. And then you take your hand back, and you keep climbing. Higher. The mist thickens and then thins, and for just a moment, a break in the cloud. You can see upward, past the remaining steps, past the stone walls that flank the stairway. And there, looming above you in the clear moment between two waves of mist, is the first gate of Rudkhan Castle. It is an arch. A low, wide arch of fitted stone, ancient and mossy and solid as the mountain itself. Through the arch, darkness, and beyond the darkness, a faint glow. The glow of more lanterns deeper inside. The breath of the castle's interior. And then the mist closes again. The gate disappears back into the white. But you have seen it. You know it is there. Just above. Just ahead. The last steps are steeper. They climb more sharply. Your legs feel the effort, a deepening warmth in your thighs, a mild, honest tiredness. Not an unpleasant feeling. The feeling of a body that has been used well, that has done what it was made to do. Walk. Climb. Move through the world. You climb. One step. Then another. The rain falls. The mist surrounds you. The lanterns glow. And then you are at the gate. Standing before the arch of stone. Looking into the darkness beyond. The stones of the arch are enormous. Each one larger than you. Fitted together without visible gaps. Covered in a deep, dark green moss that has been growing here since before your grandparents were born. The arch rises above you, and you step beneath it. The sound of rain changes as you pass under the arch. It becomes more resonant. It echoes slightly from the stone above. And for just a moment, you are sheltered. The rain still falls, but the arch above you catches some of it, deflects it to the sides. And in that small shelter, under that ancient arch of stone, you feel something release in your chest. Something you have been holding without knowing it. A tension. A tightness. It releases. And what fills the space it occupied is something warm. Something very quiet. Something that feels very much like peace. You pass through the gate. And you are inside Rudkhan Castle. Step by step. Stone by stone. Rain by rain. You have climbed the mountain. And the castle has received you. Gently. As it receives all those who come to it in quietness. Rest now. Rest and breathe. The climbing is done. The gate is behind you. And you are inside. Safe and still and sheltered. Within the ancient walls. Chapter 3. The Sleeping Fortress. You stand just inside the first gate. And you let yourself be still for a moment. Simply still. The arch of the gateway is above you. Its old stone dark with rain and wet with mist. Its surface softened by centuries of moss. And around you, the castle begins to reveal itself. Not all at once. Never all at once. The mist sees to that. It conceals and reveals in its own rhythm, independent of your wishes, independent of your curiosity. You wait. And the castle shows you what it chooses to show you. The first thing you see clearly is the courtyard. A broad, open space of flat stone, enclosed on three sides by walls. The stone of the courtyard floor is uneven, the stones fitted together long ago, and since shifted slightly by the roots below and the weight of centuries. Between the stones, in the gaps where mortar has worn away, small plants grow. Grass, moss, tiny flowers that you cannot name in the dark and rain, but that are pale and small and perfect. The courtyard is empty. No one is here but you. The rain falls across it in a steady, gentle curtain, making small dark patches on the stone where each drop lands, and runs in thin rivulets along the lowest channels between the stones, and gathers in small pools in the low places near the walls. The sound of rain on this open stone is a kind of music, a percussion played by 10,000 soft fingers. Tap, 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 an endless, gentle drumming. You walk slowly into the courtyard. Your footsteps are nearly inaudible, the rain absorbing all small sounds, wrapping them in its constant, gentle white noise. You walk to the center, and you stop, and you look up. Above you, the sky. Or what would be the sky if the clouds were not there? Instead, above you is the belly of the cloud. The cloud that has settled over the top of this mountain, that has made Rudkhan Castle its home for this night. It is not a dark or threatening cloud. It is soft, moving, lit from within by some diffuse moonlight that cannot quite penetrate, but that gives the whole cloud a faint, silver-gray luminescence. You watch it move. Slowly. The cloud flowing past above you, unhurried, vast, carrying the rain gently from the Caspian coast to the mountain slopes and releasing it here, on this ancient courtyard, on these old stones. A cat appears from somewhere. A small gray cat. It walks along the base of the western wall, not hurrying, stepping carefully over the wet stones, its paws moving with the silent precision that cats have. It sees you. It slows, not with alarm, just with the natural caution of a creature that has learned to observe before approaching. It sits, watching you with large yellow eyes that catch the lantern light. Then it turns, disappears around a corner of the wall, and is gone. You find yourself smiling. A cat in an ancient castle in the mist-wrapped mountains of northern Iran. Of course there is a cat here. There have probably always been cats here. Cats know better than most creatures where the good places are. The sheltered places. The places of warmth and permanence and quiet. The places where humans come and go but the stones remain. You move toward the far wall of the courtyard, where a covered walkway runs along the base of the wall. A low, stone-arched corridor, open on one side to the courtyard, sheltered above by a shallow roof of old tile that has been repaired many times over many centuries. Under this covered walkway, the rain does not reach you. You step beneath the tiles, and the sound changes. The rain now falls on the tile above you, a slightly different sound than on stone, a little higher, a little more resonant. A soft, continuous rushing overhead. And the courtyard before you, open to the rain, and beautiful. You lean against the wall beneath the covered walkway. And you breathe. The cold of the stone against your back. The sound of the rain on the tiles above. The sight of the empty courtyard stretching out before you in the mist and the rain and the soft lantern light. You could stay here for a very long time. You feel no need to move. No urgency. No pull toward anything beyond this moment. Just this. The rain. The castle. The mist. The silence that lives beneath and behind and within all of these things. The walls of Rudkhan Castle rise on all sides. They are remarkable things. Not the neat, uniform walls of a castle built for display. These are walls built for permanence, for endurance, for the purpose of standing in place on the side of a steep mountain in the rain and the cold and the wind for as long as anyone could need them. They are thick, very thick. Their outer faces are of rough-cut stone, irregular and organic-looking, more like the mountain itself than like something made by human hands. And they are covered, almost entirely, in moss and lichen and the dark, wet staining of centuries of rain. Green and gray and black and, in some places, a deep rust orange where iron in the stone has bled outward through the surface. They are beautiful in the way that very old, very weathered things are beautiful. In the way that shows what endurance looks like. What permanence looks like. What it means to stand in place through all the seasons, all the rains, all the years, and still be standing. Watchtowers rise from the walls at intervals. You can see 2 of them from where you stand. Circular towers, built of the same rough stone, rising above the wall lines. Their tops are lost in the mist. They disappear upward into the cloud, so that they seem, from below, to rise without end, continuing upward into the gray-white infinity above. You tilt your head back and look up at the nearest tower, following its line upward, until your eyes lose it in the mist. And there is something deeply peaceful in that. In the way the tower simply goes on, beyond what you can see, into the mystery of the cloud above. Inside the watchtowers, you imagine small dark chambers, stone floors, narrow windows, arrow slits, through which the mountain could be seen in all directions, through which the forest below could be watched, through which a guard could stand in the cold and rain of a Gilan night and see the valley below, the lanterns on the path, the movement of anyone approaching. But tonight, those windows are empty. Those chambers are silent. The guard is no longer standing. The watching is no longer necessary. The towers stand now simply because they are here. Because they have always been here. Because they have forgotten how to be anything other than what they are. The mist shifts, and you see something you did not see before. On the far side of the courtyard, a doorway. A low doorway in the wall, its arch barely tall enough for a person to walk through without bowing their head. Through the doorway, a passage. Dark. Stone walls close on both sides. Continuing into the interior of the castle, where the lanterns cannot quite reach, where the mist gathers thicker, where the silence is deeper still. You do not move toward it yet. You simply observe it. The way a doorway in an ancient castle invites you. Not with urgency. With patience. With the long, unhurried patience of a place that has been here for a very long time and will be here for a very long time more and is entirely willing to wait for you to be ready. You listen to the sounds of the castle in the rain. There are more of them than you expected. Not loud sounds. Not disturbing sounds. Just sounds. The tap of rain on tile. The softer tap of rain on stone. The dripping of water from the edge of the roof onto the courtyard stones below. A regular, musical dripping, each drop landing in the small pool that has gathered there and making a tiny, perfect splash. The sound of wind moving through the gap between the wall and the watchtower above, a low, soft moaning, not eerie, just the wind finding its way through stone channels, making the only sound it knows how to make. And somewhere, deep in the castle, the faint resonance of all these sounds, reflected off old stone walls, coming back changed, coming back slower, coming back as a kind of echo that is not quite an echo but more like the castle itself humming along softly with the rain. You think about the people who lived here. Not the soldiers, not the commanders or the rulers. The others. The ones who cooked food in stone kitchens. Who swept courtyards in the morning. Who carried water up from the mountain streams. Who patched the roofs and repaired the walls and kept the lanterns filled and lit. Who sat, perhaps, in this very walkway on rainy nights, listening to this same rain, looking out at this same courtyard, feeling this same quiet. They are gone. All of them. Their names are not remembered. Their faces are not known. But the things they touched, the stones they fitted and the paths they swept and the walls they repaired, those things remain. And tonight, in the rain, you share their quiet with them. The mist drifts through the courtyard. It enters through the open top of the walls, through the gaps where the towers rise and leave spaces between themselves and the wall. It flows in slowly, in thin white veils, settling into the low places of the courtyard, pooling near the ground. And from the covered walkway where you stand, you watch it. The way it moves. Almost like water. Almost like something alive. But slow. Very slow. Moving in the rhythm of breathing. In and out. Thickening and thinning. Like the castle itself is breathing. It is. You decide that it is. That this castle breathes. That any place this old and this present and this deeply embedded in the life of a mountain and a forest must have something that functions like breathing. Must have a rhythm of its own. A tempo. A heartbeat measured not in seconds but in seasons. Not in minutes but in decades. And you, standing here in the rain for one night, are simply hearing one slow beat of that great, patient heart. You move along the covered walkway, following it as it runs along the base of the eastern wall. The walkway curves, and as it curves, new sections of the castle come into view. A second courtyard, smaller than the first, lower walled, with a single large tree growing in its center. A tree whose roots have cracked the stone around its base, and whose trunk is massive, whose bark is dark with rain, whose branches spread wide overhead and are full of leaves that catch and release the rain with a sound softer than anything. The tree is old. Older than the walls perhaps. Or as old. It has been growing here since the castle began, or perhaps before. Growing up through the center of what became a courtyard, and the people who built the walls built them around it. Left space for it. Let it remain. And now it remains still. Long after the people who made space for it are gone. You stand under the branches of the tree. For a moment you are sheltered not by stone but by leaves. 1,000 leaves, each catching the rain, each releasing it slowly in drops that fall through the spaces between leaves below and touch you gently. The sound of rain in the leaves of the tree is different from rain on stone. It is softer, more intimate, like being whispered to by a very large and very gentle voice. The tree smells of wet bark and leaves and the particular sweetness of old wood and rain. You put your hand on the trunk, feeling the roughness of the bark, the cool dampness of it, the aliveness of it beneath your palm. Something living. Something that has been living for longer than you can imagine. Growing silently and steadily in this courtyard while empires rose and fell and the world changed around it. Still growing. Still reaching upward. Still releasing new leaves every spring and letting them fall every autumn. Still hosting birds in its branches and insects in its bark and rain on its leaves and starlight on its crown. You stay with the tree for a while. Your hand on its bark. Your breath slow. The rain falling through its branches and onto your upturned face. Cool and soft and clean. And then you move on. Through the second courtyard. Through another low doorway. Into another passage. Deeper into the heart of Rudkhan Castle. The passage is narrow. The walls close on both sides. Old stone. Very close. You can reach out and touch both walls at once. The walls are damp. Cool. Rough. And in the dim light of a single lantern hung somewhere ahead, they seem to lean slightly inward, as though the stone is settling, is slowly, over the centuries, inclining toward the center of the passage. Not collapsing. Nothing so dramatic. Just settling. The way everything settles given enough time. The way the earth itself settles. Slowly. Imperceptibly. The passage opens into a chamber. A small, low-ceiling chamber. Stone floor. Stone walls. A single narrow window on the far side, through which you can see the mountainside, and the forest below, and the mist. All of it soft, and dim and rain-blurred through the narrow opening. A lantern hangs from a hook on the wall. Its flame is small. Steady. Casting a warm circle of light that does not quite reach the corners of the chamber. The corners remain in shadow. Soft shadow. Not threatening. Just dim. Just the comfortable dimness of an old stone room at night. In the center of the chamber, a low stone bench. Built into the wall itself. Part of it. You sit down. And the stone is cold for just a moment. And then it is simply there. Solid beneath you. Permanent. You look out the narrow window. The forest is below. The mist is above. The rain falls between them. And from this window, from this chamber in the heart of Rudkhan Castle, the view is one of the most beautiful you have ever seen. Not because it is grand or dramatic. Because it is, simply, true. This is what the mountain looks like at night. This is what the forest of Gilan looks like in the rain. This is what the mist does when it rises from the valley and meets the cloud coming down from the peaks. No photograph. No description. No map or guidebook or story can quite capture it. You have to be here. You have to be sitting in this cold stone chamber. Looking through this narrow window. Listening to this rain. Breathing this air. To know it. And you are here. You are knowing it. Rest in the sleeping fortress. Let the castle hold you. Let the walls be around you. Let the rain be above you. Let the forest be below you. And let yourself be still. Very still. Here. In the heart of the ancient, quiet, rain-washed, mist-wrapped sleeping fortress of Rudkhan. Chapter 4. Rain upon the ancient walls. You have been sitting in the small stone chamber for a while now. How long, you are not sure. Time moves differently here. It moves the way the mist moves. Slowly. Without edges. Without the sharp divisions of clocks and minutes. Time in Rudkhan Castle in the rain is more like weather than like measurement. It comes and goes. It thickens and thins. And you sit within it. Unhurried. Untroubled. Simply, within it. You rise from the stone bench. Slowly. Your body feels heavy in the best way. The weight of stillness. The pleasant heaviness of a body that has rested and breathed and let the cold stone restore something to it. You move back through the passage. Into the second courtyard. The tree is still there. Of course it is. Its branches dark and wet. Its leaves catching and releasing the rain in their endless, patient way. You pass beneath it. And continue. The corridors of Rudkhan Castle wind in ways that are not immediately logical. They do not form neat grids. They do not follow straight lines. They follow the mountain. They follow the shape of the land beneath them, rising and falling and turning as the terrain dictates. A corridor that seems to be heading east will turn and head north. A passage that climbs will level and then climb again. The castle is organic. Grown as much as built. Added to over centuries. Repaired and expanded and altered by many hands across many generations. And walking through it at night, in the rain and mist, you do not try to understand its plan. You simply follow. Step by step. One passage opening into another. One courtyard leading to one more corridor. One arch giving way to a stone stair, a narrow stair, spiraling upward within a tower. You find yourself climbing the inner stair of one of the watchtowers. The stair is very narrow. The stone steps worn and smooth. In the wall beside the stair, set into the stone at intervals of about an arm's length, small alcoves. Not large enough for anything significant. Just alcoves. Recesses. Little pockets in the stone wall. Some of them empty. Some still holding the remains of what might have once been small oil lamps. The soot marks on the stone above each alcove telling the story of their former purpose. This is how people climbed this stair in the dark centuries ago. Not with lanterns. Not with the light they carried. But by the light of these small alcove lamps. Small flames guttering in the draught from below. Casting moving shadows up the walls of the stair. Lighting each step just enough. Just barely enough. You climb. Slowly. The stair turns as you climb. A gentle spiral. Always turning. Always rising. And the sound of the rain follows you up. Muffled here, inside the stone walls of the tower, but present. A constant soft background. The castle speaking in rain. And then the stair opens. And you are at the top of the tower. The top of the watchtower is open to the sky. Or to where the sky would be. Tonight it is open to the cloud. The mist is dense up here. Denser than below. It moves past you in slow white curtains. And the rain falls through it. Not heavily. But steadily. Directly onto your face and hands. Cool and soft. You stand at the edge of the tower top, the low wall at the edge coming to your waist. And you look out, in all directions. But there is nothing to see. The mist has taken everything. The forest below, invisible. The valley, invisible. The other watchtowers of the castle, invisible. Even the walls directly below you have disappeared into the white. You are standing on the top of a tower that rises, as far as you can tell, from nothing into nothing. Suspended in cloud. In rain. In a soft white silence that is different from any silence you have known. You breathe in the cloud. This is what cloud is like from inside. This is what the birds feel when they fly into the mist. Not nothing. Not blankness. But something. A texture. A presence. The cloud has a smell, fresh and mineral and cold, the smell of water that has not yet fallen. The cloud has a sound, just barely, the faintest whisper of moisture moving through air. And the cloud has a weight, just slightly, on your skin. The weight of 1,000 tiny droplets settling on you as you stand in the middle of it. You stay up here for a long time. Long enough for your hair to become heavy with mist. Long enough for the cold to settle gently in your bones. A good cold. A clean cold. The cold of mountain air and rain and cloud. A cold that wakes the skin. That makes you aware of being a body, of having edges, of being here, in this particular place, on this particular night. Then you descend. Back down the spiral stair of the watchtower. Past the soot-marked alcoves. Past the smooth, worn steps. Through the small door at the base, and back into the castle's winding interior. You find a longer corridor now, wider than the others, running along what feels like the spine of the castle. This corridor is the main artery of Rudkhan. It connects the towers to the gates, the courtyards to the chambers, the upper levels to the lower. And walking through it, you feel the castle's structure for the first time as a whole. Not just as a series of separate spaces, but as one thing. One interconnected, organic, ancient thing. Built over centuries by many hands but belonging, somehow, to itself. Having its own character. Its own presence. Its own way of receiving rain and holding silence, and sheltering those who come to it. The corridor is beautiful. Its walls of dark stone. Its floor of large, flat, moss-edged stones. The low arched ceiling above, formed by the weight of the wall above pressing two sides toward each other until they meet in the center. There are no separate keystones here. The arch is formed simply by the angle. By the meeting of two stones pressed together by the weight of everything above them. Architecture as physics. Form as force. Rain taps gently against the outer wall to your left. You can hear it even here, inside the corridor. A soft drumming, muffled by stone, softened to something barely louder than a heartbeat. Tap, tap. Tap, tap. Rain and heartbeat. Heartbeat and rain. You run your fingertips along the wall as you walk. The surface is endlessly varied. Rough here. Smooth there where a stone has been more carefully dressed. Soft with moss in the damp places. Dry and slightly gritty in the sheltered spots. The wall is a record of time. Every surface change tells something. Where water has run. where frost has expanded and contracted the stone, where hands have touched and worn the surface, where repairs have been made with newer stone that does not quite match the older. You read it with your fingertips, like a very long book written in a language older than words. A doorway to your right, low and wide. You pass through it, into a chamber that is different from the others. Larger, higher ceiling, with two narrow windows on opposite walls, and in the floor, a square opening covered with a heavy stone. A well, or the access to a cistern. A place where rainwater was collected and stored. This is how the castle survived in times of difficulty. By catching what the sky offered. By holding rain. The rain of Gilan, which offered so much. Which has always offered so much. Has been sustaining these mountain communities for as long as anyone can remember. You stand beside the cistern cover. And you listen. Through the stone. Very faintly. You can hear water. The water that has been collecting below, filling the cistern slowly with the rain of this night. Drop by drop by drop. A sound so faint it is more felt than heard. A vibration in the stone underfoot. The heartbeat of the water below. Patient. Filling. Waiting. You move on. Through another arch. Into another passage. Following the rain sound. Following the lantern light. Following the slow, meditative rhythm of your own footsteps on the old stone floors of Rudkhan Castle. Here the castle shows you its repairs. Places where the original stone has been replaced with newer stone. Slightly different in color. Slightly different in texture. But fitted with care, with the intention of matching what was there before. The castle has been maintained. Not just by history, not just by time, but by people. By the people of this region, who have lived alongside it, who have thought of it as theirs, who have climbed its stairs and walked its corridors and understood that this place is worth keeping. And who have kept it. Season by season. Generation by generation. You feel gratitude for those people. For the unnamed ones who looked at a crumbling wall and decided to repair it. Who carried stone up the mountain in the rain. Who mixed mortar with cold hands. Who pressed new stone into old gaps. Who gave years of their lives to the work of keeping this place standing. So that you could be here tonight. Walking these corridors. Listening to this rain. Feeling this ancient peace. You find a place where the outer wall has a shallow recess. Just large enough for you to step back into. A sheltered niche. You step into it. Your back against the wall. The corridor before you. The rain outside the corridor wall to your left. Heard but not felt. You stand in the niche and you breathe. And you look down the long corridor. At the lantern light. At the way the lantern's glow catches the edges of the stone and leaves the rest in shadow. At the beautiful dimness of this ancient place. At the rain-dark, mist-wrapped, lantern-lit corridor of a castle that has been standing in these mountains for 1,000 years. You feel the castle around you. Not just the walls. The feeling of it. The atmosphere of it. The particular quality of presence that belongs only to Rudkhan. It is not eerie. It is not melancholy. It is something else. Something more like completeness. As though this place has found exactly what it was meant to be. As though the centuries of rain and wind and use and repair have shaped it into its truest form. And its truest form is this. Exactly this. A fortress that is also a sanctuary. A place of stone that is also a place of softness. A human construction that has been reclaimed by the mountain and the moss and the mist until it is no longer quite human, and no longer quite natural but something entirely its own. Something that belongs to the high forests of Gilan the way the eagle belongs to the sky above them. Completely. Without question. Without reservation. The rain is heavier now. You can hear it, more insistent against the outer walls. A fuller sound. More rain falling from the Caspian clouds. The mountains catching it. The forest drinking it. The castle receiving it with its usual equanimity. Taking the rain the way it takes everything. Without hurry. Without complaint. Without celebration. Simply receiving. And the rain on the ancient walls is beautiful. You know this without seeing it. You know what it looks like. Dark stone made darker by the wet. The surface gleaming in the lantern light. Drops catching the orange glow as they run down the face of the stone. Each one a brief, tiny mirror. Reflecting the lantern. Reflecting the mist. Reflecting the night. And then falling away. Down. Down the wall. Into the earth. Into the roots of the forest. Into the ancient, cycling life of this mountain. Let the rain fall on the ancient walls. Let it run down the stone. Let it gather in the cisterns below. Let the castle hold you in its corridors. In its chambers. In its niches and alcoves and arched passageways. You are safe here. The walls are thick. The lanterns are burning. The rain is falling. And everything is exactly as it should be. Rest now. Let the sound of rain on ancient walls be the last sound you hear as you drift. And drift. And drift. Chapter 5. Lanterns in the Fog. The night has deepened. You feel it more than you see it. A deepening of the quiet. A settling of the dark. The mist outside the castle walls has thickened further, pressing gently against the stone, wrapping itself around the towers and the gates. And the lanterns of Rudkhan have become more visible for it. More present. More warm. You find your way to the highest accessible point of the castle. Not a watchtower. Not this time. But a wide stone terrace. A flat area at the top of the eastern wall where the wall broadens into a walkway, where soldiers might once have paced. Where you now stand. Looking out. The fog tonight is extraordinary. It is everywhere below you. The valley, the forest, the stream, the path you climbed. All of it, swallowed. A sea of fog. White and soft and moving. The tops of the tallest trees just barely visible, ghostly. Emerging from the fog like dark fingertips reaching toward you. And above the fog, the clouds. And in the clouds, the hidden moon. Making everything faintly luminous. So that the fog glows. A soft, even, pearl-gray glow. From one edge of the valley to the other. And in that glowing fog, the lanterns of the castle path below you. You can see them. Or rather, you can see where they are. because the lanterns themselves are invisible in the fog. But the light they cast is visible. Each lantern appears as a warm, round, diffused glow. A small orange sun, set in the white of the fog, suspended between earth and cloud. There are 7 lanterns visible from where you stand. 7 warm, orange, perfectly still glows in the fog below. Each one alone. Each one separate. And yet together they form a line. The line of the path. The path you climbed. Now visible again only as light. Only as 7 small suns in a sea of white. You count them slowly. 1, 2, 3. Each pause between counts is long. Unhurried. 4, 5, 6. The 7th is the faintest. Barely there. Just a suggestion of warmth at the very edge of the fog. 7. The wind moves. Gently. From the south. From the direction of the higher mountains. And the fog shifts. It moves. Not quickly. The fog never moves quickly. It flows. Like very slow water. Like breathing made visible. The fog flows across the valley below, and for a moment, one of the lantern glows becomes slightly clearer, the edges of its circle a little sharper, a little more defined. And then the fog thickens again, and the lantern retreats back into its soft round blurriness. And everything is as it was. But something has changed. In that moment of clarity, that brief, partial lifting of the fog, you saw the forest below. Just for a second. Just a glimpse. The dark shapes of the trees, the gleam of wet leaves, the line of the path winding down through the ferns. And seeing it, remembering that it exists below the fog, below the white sea of cloud, you feel something you cannot quite name. A warmth that is not temperature. A sense of being held. The forest is below. The cloud is above. The castle is around you. And you are here. In the middle of all of it. Between earth and sky. Between forest and cloud. Held by the ancient stone walls of Rudkhan. Safe. You turn from the terrace. And you walk back into the castle. Through the gate of the terrace. Down a short flight of stone steps. Into a covered gallery that runs along the inside of the eastern wall. The gallery is lit by lanterns. More lanterns here than anywhere else. 4 of them, hung at intervals along the gallery wall. Their light overlapping, filling the gallery with a warm, even glow. A glow that is gold, and amber, and softly orange. A glow that is entirely different from daylight. From electric light. From any other kind of light. It is the light of flame. Old light. Human light. The kind of light that has comforted people in darkness for as long as people have known fire. You walk slowly through the gallery, feeling the warmth of the lanterns as you pass each one. The glass of each lantern is slightly foggy on the inside where the flame's heat has condensed the moisture of the night air, making the flame appear softer, more diffuse. More like a glow than a flame. Through the gallery windows, narrow openings in the stone, you can see the fog outside. It is very close now. Close enough that it seems almost to be pressing against the stone. Almost to be leaning in. Looking. Not with any intention. just the way fog is. Present. Without direction. Without purpose beyond presence. And the lanterns of the gallery cast their warm light outward through those narrow windows. Into the fog. Where the light scatters and spreads and softens. And becomes part of the fog itself. Warm light woven into white mist. You find a window recess in the gallery. A stone seat, built into the wall below a window. Low and wide. Covered with a piece of old wood, dark with age and smooth by many sittings. You sit in it. And you tuck your legs beneath you. And you rest your back against the wall. And you look out through the narrow window. Into the fog. Into the warm, lantern-touched, rain-soft, night-deep fog of Gilan. And you breathe. In. Out. The lantern nearest to you flickers slightly. Just once. As though greeting you. As though acknowledging your presence in this gallery, in this castle, on this night. And then it settles back to its steady flame. The sound of rain is softer here. From inside the gallery, with the lantern warmth and the stone walls on all sides. The rain outside is a background. A constant, gentle, beautiful background. Like music that you have stopped consciously hearing. That you are simply inside. That surrounds you the way music surrounds you when you are fully within it. You look up at the ceiling of the gallery. Stone. Arched. The arch meeting directly above the center of the gallery. And on the ceiling, the shadows of the lantern flames. Moving. Very slightly. As the flames breathe. The shadows are soft. They do not make sharp lines. They blur at their edges. Expanding and contracting with each breath of the flame below. The ceiling is alive with these soft, moving shadows. Not threatening. Hypnotic. Beautiful. You watch them. You watch the shadows on the ceiling of the gallery for a long time. The flames breathe. The shadows move. The rain falls outside. The fog presses gently against the stone. The lanterns burn their warm, steady burn. And you are so still. You are so still and so quiet and so comfortably settled in your stone window seat. That a moth arrives. A small pale moth. Drawn from wherever moths shelter in castles in the rain. Drawn to the nearest lantern. It circles the lantern glass. Once. Twice. 3 times. And then settles on the wall beside the lantern. Its wings folding and unfolding. Slowly. Folding. Unfolding. As though breathing with them. You watch the moth. With the same quality of attention you have been giving everything tonight. The same unhurried, undemanding attention. Just watching. Just being with. The moth on the wall beside the lantern. Its wings the color of old parchment. Faintly marked with patterns that seem to echo the shapes of leaves or bark or fog. Folding and unfolding. Slowly. Outside the narrow window. In the fog. Something remarkable happens. A shift in the wind. A current of air moving from the valley below. Carrying with it, just briefly, the scent of the forest. Cedar and rain and earth and the particular green perfume of wet ferns. It comes through the narrow window. Into the warm gallery. Into your breath. And for just a moment, the forest is here with you. Inside the castle walls. Inside the warm lantern-lit gallery, the forest comes to you. You breathe it in, deeply, holding it for just a moment. That green, dark, rain-wet, ancient scent of the Hyrcanian Forest. And then releasing it, slowly, and it is gone. But you carry it in you now, in the cells of your lungs, in the back of your memory, where it will wait, patient and green and always slightly damp, always slightly smelling of cedar and rain. The lanterns burn on. The fog presses close. The castle breathes around you. The moth folds and unfolds its wings beside the flame. The rain falls on the ancient walls. And you are here, in the warm heart of a cold night, in the lit heart of a fog-bound mountain, in the sheltered heart of an ancient fortress. You find yourself growing very still. Your thoughts, which have been moving slowly all evening, are slowing further, becoming less like thoughts and more like impressions. Images. The fern fronds against the rain. The water on the stones. The cat's yellow eyes in the lantern light. The tree in the second courtyard. The moth's parchment wings. The 7 lanterns in the fog below. The sound of the stream in the forest. The worn center of the ancient steps. These images move through you slowly, like clouds, like fog. Not quite thoughts, not quite dreams. Something in between. The place between. The soft, warm, lantern-lit place between waking and sleeping, where the mind lets go of its grip on the day and begins to open toward the dark and restful ocean of sleep. You are at the edge of that ocean now. You can feel it. The slight heaviness of your eyelids. The way your breath has slowed to something barely distinguishable from stillness. The way the sounds of the castle have merged into one continuous, gentle, encompassing sound. Rain, wind, lantern warmth, stone, fog, all one, all the same, all beautiful. Stay in the gallery a little longer. Let the lanterns burn. Let the fog press close. Let the rain fall on the ancient walls. You are warm here. You are safe here. In the lantern-lit gallery of Rudkhan Castle. On the mountainside of Gilan. While the fog fills the valley below. And the Hyrcanian forest sleeps around you. And the night deepens. And the lanterns burn. And you drift. Slowly. Gently, toward the most peaceful sleep. Chapter 6. Dawn over the Green Mountains. Something changes. It changes so gently that you almost don't notice. Almost. But somewhere in the deep stillness of the night, in the lowest, quietest hour, the one that belongs entirely to darkness, something begins. Not a sound exactly. More like the memory of a sound. More like the anticipation. A shift in the quality of the silence. As though the silence has reached its deepest point and has begun, very slowly, very gently, to recede. The birds know it first. They always know it first. Long before there is any visible light. Long before a human eye could detect the change in the sky. The birds know. And they begin. Not with song. Not yet. But with movement. A rustling in the branches of the tree in the second courtyard. A soft shifting of weight from one foot to another. A quiet rearranging of feathers. The birds preparing themselves, getting ready for what they know is coming. You have been drifting in and out of a sleep so gentle that the boundary between sleeping and waking has become invisible. You are in your stone window seat in the gallery, or you are in the small chamber with the single lantern, or you are somewhere else entirely, somewhere in the soft, unhurried dream space of the castle. It doesn't matter. The castle holds you wherever you are. The first sound of dawn is a single bird, a single voice, somewhere on the mountainside below the castle. Not a complicated song, just a few notes. 3 or perhaps 4. Ascending, questioning, as though the bird is asking the darkness whether it is ready to leave. The notes hang in the damp air, in the fog, in the deep night quiet, and then fade, and there is silence again. But not quite the same silence as before. The silence after the first bird has sung is different, warmer, more expectant. The silence of a world on the very edge of waking. A second bird responds, from somewhere on the other side of the valley. Far away, barely audible, just a suggestion of notes. An answer to the first bird's question. Yes, the answer seems to say, yes, the darkness is beginning to leave. Yes, it is almost time. The rain has slowed. Through the night it was steady and certain. Now it has become intermittent. A few drops. A pause. A few more. A longer pause. As though the clouds above are relaxing their grip. As though the rain, having fallen faithfully through the long dark hours, is now allowing itself to rest. The fog is still, as it always is in the hour before dawn. The deep, thick, settled fog of early morning. Not moving, not flowing, just there, filling the valley completely, covering the forest completely, so that from the terrace above, if you went there now, you would see only fog. A white, even, perfectly still sea of fog, from one mountain wall to the other, from the floor of the valley to the tops of the trees. But at the very edge of the fog, at the eastern horizon, where the mountains meet the sky, something has begun. A brightening, not yet color, just a lightening of the dark. The deep blue-black of the night sky beginning to separate from the mountain silhouettes below it. Beginning to show, there at the horizon, a thin edge of something that is not quite dark. The birds have heard it, or felt it, and now, more of them have begun. Not a chorus yet, but a conversation. Several voices now, from different directions, from the slopes below the castle, from the trees at the edge of the fog, from somewhere inside the fog itself. Each voice distinct, each bird singing its own notes, its own pattern, its own small signature, and yet all of them together creating something. A tapestry of sound. A slow, building, beautiful tapestry of birdsong, woven through the fog, woven through the deep green morning air of the Hyrcanian Forest. The sky at the eastern horizon is changing. The not quite darkness there is becoming something. A color, the first color of dawn. Not gold, not yet. Something more subtle than gold. A deep, cool, luminous blue. The blue of the very edge of night giving way to day. The blue that exists for only a few minutes. Only in that narrow window when the night has almost gone and the sun has almost come. Only for those who are awake to see it. The castle walls catch this color. Their dark stone surfaces, which have been black and gray and rain dark all night, now show the first faint bluish tinge of pre-dawn light. Not illuminated. Not yet. Just touched. Just brushed at the edges with this thin, luminous blue. The walls of Rudkhan Castle receiving the first suggestion of a new day. The mist begins to move. Very slightly. The perfect stillness of deep night is over. The air is beginning to stir. The morning wind that comes down from the mountain peaks above, from the cold heights where no trees grow, where only rock and sky exist. That wind descends now. Slowly, gently, and as it descends, it begins to move the fog. The fog in the valley below stirs, ripples, like a great, white, sleeping body turning in its sleep. And where the wind touches it, it begins to break apart, very slightly, into wisps and tendrils that rise from the surface. Rising, slowly, upward into the paling sky. The birdsong grows. More voices now. More insistent. Though still slow. Still gentle. It is not the urgent, noon-bright song of midday birds. This is the dawn song. More introspective. More wondering. As though each bird is still half in the dream of sleep and singing from that border place. Just as you are half in sleep and listening from that same border place. The sky brightens. The blue at the horizon deepens and then lightens. A warmth enters the color. The faintest trace of rose. Of amber. Something moving toward gold. Though still far from gold. Just the suggestion. Just the first promise. The fog in the valley begins to separate into layers. Near the ground, in the deepest parts of the valley, the fog remains thick. But above it, 10 or 20 meters above the valley floor, the fog has thinned. And you can see through it. Dimly. The shapes of trees emerging from the white. Dark shapes. Tall. The hornbeams and the chestnuts and the old pines of the Hyrcanian Forest. Coming back into the world from the fog that covered them through the night. The mountains. You can see the mountains now. Their ridgelines against the sky. The great slow shapes of the Alborz range as it descends toward the Caspian coast. The shapes of ridges and valleys and the dark masses of forest covering everything. Lit now from below, by the rising glow of the horizon, in a color that is becoming more and more certainly gold. A ray of light. The first ray of actual light. Not reflected. Not diffuse. Direct. Comes over the eastern ridge and touches the top of the highest remaining tower of Rudkhan Castle. Just the top. Just the uppermost stones. A band of gold. On the wet, dark, ancient stone. The effect is extraordinary. The wet stone catches the light and holds it and multiplies it. Each drop of rain still clinging to the surface of the stone becomes a tiny mirror for the sun. 1,000 tiny lights. 1,000 tiny suns. On the highest stones of the highest tower of the highest point of Rudkhan Castle. The light descends. Slowly. Moving down the tower as the sun continues to rise behind the mountains. Touching more stone. More wet surfaces. more tiny mirrors of rainwater. The birdsong has become a full chorus now. A rich, layered, many-voiced song that fills the valley below and rises up the mountainside and enters the castle through every window and gap and archway. It is not dramatic. It is not triumphant. It is simply the sound of the forest waking. The sound of 1,000 small lives beginning a new day. The rain has stopped entirely now. The clouds above are thinning, breaking apart in the morning wind, showing between them patches of sky. A sky that is pale and washed and luminous. The sky after rain. The sky of Gilan morning. And the fog, the great white fog of the night, is dissolving, not all at once, not even mostly, but at its upper edges, where the morning sun is finding it, where the morning warmth is reaching. At those edges, the fog is turning to wisps, to nothing, rising away into the clear air above. The forest below is appearing, slowly, like a photograph developing in old chemistry. First the shapes of things, then the colors. The deep, extraordinary green of the Hyrcanian forest in the morning after rain. A green so saturated, so intense, so alive, that it does not seem like a color. It seems like a feeling. It seems like the forest is not just green but is expressing green, feeling green, being green in the most complete and generous way. You see this green from the terrace of Rudkhan Castle. Or perhaps you see it from the window of the gallery. Or perhaps you are seeing it now behind your closed eyes. Because you are very close to sleep. You have been very close to sleep for a long time now. But this green, this extraordinary morning green of the forest below, this holds you for just a moment longer. On the border of sleep and waking, showing you its color. The castle is lit now, in morning light. The walls that were dark and rain-black through the night are now showing their true colors in the dawn. Not gray, as they appeared, but warmer, brown and amber and the deep honeygold of old sandstone, with the green of the moss as brilliant as the forest below, and the lichen on the stones showing shades of gray and silver and, in some places, a startling orange. The castle in morning light is a different place than the castle in rain. Not better, not worse, just different. The same place, wearing different light. A sound, very close, just outside whatever window you are near. A bird, a single bird, very close to the castle wall, singing a song that is nothing like anything you can describe. A melody of 5 or 6 notes, repeated, varied, repeated again with small changes. Simple, perfect. The bird is singing to the morning, or to the castle, or to no one in particular. Just singing because the morning has come, and singing is what birds do when the morning comes. The mist in the valley is nearly gone now. Just wisps remain, caught in the lowest places, in the hollows between hills, along the line of the stream, where the cold air still gathers, where the sun has not yet reached. But above those hollows, the valley is clear, and the forests are vivid and green and fully themselves in the morning light, and the mountains are rising behind them in great dark forested shapes, and above the mountains the sky, pale and washed and beautiful, the sky of after rain. The sky of early morning in the mountains of Gilan. The watchtowers cast long shadows now in the low morning sun. The shadows stretch westward across the courtyard stones, changing the geometry of the place. Where the courtyard was one thing in the even gray light of night, now it is another thing. Light here, shadow there. A pattern of light and dark that changes as the sun rises. Moving slowly, the shadows shortening, the light expanding, the castle adjusting itself moment by moment to the sun, as it has done every morning for 1,000 years. You have been awake, or nearly awake, all through the night, in the gentle, drifting way of someone who has been so thoroughly rested by the quiet and the rain and the stone and the mist that sleep and waking have stopped being opposites, have become instead a continuum, a spectrum, a long, soft gradient from fully awake at one end to deeply asleep at the other. And you have been moving slowly along that gradient through the night, toward the deep end, toward the restful, still, dreamful end. You are very close to that end now, very close to sleep. The bird song is becoming part of the dream. The morning light behind your eyes is becoming part of the dream. The sound of the castle, its stones warming in the sun, its wood expanding in the morning heat, the soft settling sounds of a very old building waking in the warmth. All of it becoming the dream. The castle of Rudkhan is watchful this morning, as it always is, its towers facing outward, its walls enclosing and protecting, its corridors and chambers and courtyards holding the silence and the light in their stone embrace. The forest below is awake and green and wet with last night's rain. The mountains around are ancient and enormous and entirely unhurried. The sky above is clearing. The birds are singing. The river in the valley is running full and clear over its stones. And you, in the warm heart of this ancient fortress, in the lap of the green mountains, in the arms of the forest, in the sound of the birds and the fading rain and the morning coming softly over the peaks of Gilan, you are finally, fully, deeply, at peace. You drift, the way leaves drift on the surface of the mountain stream, slowly, carried by something gentle and constant, moving without effort, without direction, without anything except the quiet movement of a slow and peaceful current. The ancient castle holds you. The green mountains hold you. The Hyrcanian forest holds you. The sound of birds holds you. The fading rain holds you. The morning light holds you. Everything holds you. And you sleep. Sleep now. The forest is awake and green. The birds are singing in the old trees. The mist is lifting from the valley. The sun is touching the highest stones. The ancient walls are warm. The corridors are quiet. The lanterns have burned through the night. And they are still. And you are safe. And you are warm. And the whispers of Rudkhan Castle are still with you, carrying you, as you drift into the deepest, most peaceful sleep, in the quiet heart of the green mountains, in the gentle arms of the ancient forest, in the timeless shelter of Rudkhan. Good night. Good night. Good night. And whispers beneath the mist of Rudkhan Castle. A sleep story in 6 chapters. For the forests of Gilan, and all those who need rest.